Tennessee WildCast is live on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. We thank you all for tuning in, and thanks for listening on the radio. We're excited about today's show. We're in East Tennessee once again in Jonesboro, and still on the farm here, Mr. Kim Woods. But we've got two more guests today, and excited to talk to them, Mr. Larry Proffitt and Arden Hill. We're going to have some great stories today. We're going to be talking turkeys, and it should be fun. And I got Mr. Matt Cameron here helping me co-host.
Back again.
Yeah.
Excited for this one.
We are glad Matt's joining us, and he always does a great job, helps us out, and we're happy to be in your neck of the woods.
I'm glad y'all came to East Tennessee. It's like closer to home for me.
Yeah. I like to get out when we can and do the show on the road a little bit, and it's always fun. So I want to thank Mr. Larry Proffitt and Arden Hill for being with us today, and you guys, I hear y'all got some great stories to tell, and been around a little while, so should be a fun show. Turkey hunting has changed over the years, and it's gotten better, and it's I'm sure you've seen it all. Both of you probably seen a lot of things throughout the years, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I interviewed former Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commissioner Chad Baker a few weeks ago, and he mentioned Larry Proffitt and Arden Hill, and he said they're two of the best turkey hunters that ever lived, were his words, and no doubt in Upper East Tennessee. They're both legends of turkey hunting, and with turkey season coming up this Saturday, the statewide season opens this Saturday morning. We wanted to get them on the show and talk to them about their experiences in turkey hunting over the decades, and they've seen it when there were no turkeys, and they've seen the good old days of turkey hunting, which I think we're probably in at this point. So, yeah, Jason, lead us where you want us to go here.
Yeah, well, let's just start out with whoever wants to start, but let's just chat about how long have you been turkey hunting, and how did you get introduced into turkey hunting and the world and just hunting in general?
My first hunt was in 1968 or 69, and I was in School of Pharmacy at the University of Tennessee, and we wanted to go duck hunting, but they already had all the places leased up. Gordon Baker called me one night. He said, "There's going to be a turkey hunt." I said, "Turkeys?" He said, "Yeah." We went uptown and bought us to York Arms downtown Memphis and bought us a foolproof box call. I think the name of it had something to do with our choice. And so, anyway, we went out the first morning to Shelby Forest, had those Elmer Fudd outfits on, our double barrels, and we sit down there, and I was raised on a farm. I'd never heard a turkey, but I knew what chickens sound like. And we're sitting about 20 steps apart, looking around like a couple of children. And all of a sudden, an old man, something caught my eye, and I looked, and here come an old man where a tree had fallen into the crotch of a door, and he walked down there, and he walked up between us. He said, "What are you boys doing?" I said, "We're turkey hunting, mister." He said, "No, you're not." He said, you hear that thing strutting over there? Didn't you see me call to him?" I said, "No, but we'll be leaving." So we went out to Gordon's 1960s Oldsmobile convertible, and we looked in front of this little field, and the field was full of turkeys, and we didn't know nothing about beards or anything, but we gave them 4 courtesy shots. So,
oh, that's awesome.
A lot of elements to that story there. The first experiences in the woods and getting walked in on, and the convertible, and shooting in a bunch of turkeys in a field.
But it was, it was a long time. When I'd hunted, I'd killed a couple of turkeys in the late 70s or 79 or 80, and there wasn't any videos. There was no such thing as a computers or all this stuff or internet. So you had to get somebody to go with you, and the judge was already known in the area of being a great turkey hunter, and he killed the first turkey and had a season in Johnson County. And so I called him one night, and I said, "Would you go with me?" And he said, "Yes." Said, "You find a gobbling turkey, and I'll go with you." And so we went that morning to where I'd heard the turkey, and he was whispering to me the things to do. He'd do a little tree call, and then he'd yip a little, and the gobbler would gobble. And then he did a fly down cackle. And I was sitting watching. I thought, well, that's what you do. And then all of a sudden we heard the Patsy Cline of all turkeys walking towards that gobbler dip. And I thought, boy, that guy sounds good, but it wasn't a him, it was a her. And that was the last of the deal. Now, I've used that for years. People say, take me turkey hunting. I say, find a good gobbling turkey and I'll go with you. But nobody takes you up on that.
I want you to do all the work for them. Huh?
Yeah, but finding the turkey. But the judge he took me when I was a pup, and I don't forget that.
Well, we've said you said judge a couple times. Mr. Arden Hill was a judge here in this area, right?
Criminal court judge.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Sessions and in criminal court, but he was criminal court judge for four counties, wasn't he?
Right.
And a World War II veteran.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So we appreciate your service for sure.
God bless you.
Well, thank you.
Well, tell us a story or two about growing up turkey hunting and being in the outdoors.
Well, when I grew up, we had some things to hunt, rabbits and squirrels and a few like quail and grouse, but we didn't have any turkeys or deer. And we had, my dad had almost a zoo, had some animals, like 3 different bears. And I played with the cubs, and they'd get to where they'd slap me around, and then we'd stop playing with it. And he was a bear hunter, and I learned a lot from him about hunting. And but he passed away before he got into turkey hunting. We didn't have turkeys until, I've forgotten what year it was, but I think I killed the only legal turkey, legally killed turkey in Johnson County that year. And on opening day, I heard it gobble, and I called, and it answered, and some hens flew down, and he left with the hens, and I kept thinking about it. And on the last day of the season, which is about 10 days later, I kept thinking about it. I remember it was the 12th day of May because I kept the paper for ages. So I don't know what year it was, but I went back to the same spot and called, and he answered, and I could see the woods leaves hadn't bloomed out yet. And I could see the area, and he was coming from the next ridge over, and I finally saw the tip of his tail behind a log. And I did some kind of cackle or something, and he folded, came right around and came right directly toward me, and I got ready, and the wind was blowing a little bit, and all at once I looked to my left, and there he was, and he had his head sideways. Well, the leaves were blowing a little bit, and I slowly moved around. It took me a long time, and shot him and killed him, and he squalled. I never had one squall since, but he squalled, and I gave him another shot, and yay! So that's my first experience with turkey hunting.
That's pretty exciting. And you said 12 days later or 10 days later. Do you remember how long a season was back then?
It's about 10 or 12 days because it's the first day I went.
Okay.
And then the last day of the season I went.
Gave him
But I don't know what year, but
yeah.
They didn't publish it until the next year. There's a few more killed, and that was in the pamphlets they put out in the Tennessee magazine.
Mm-hmm. Things have come a long way, haven't they?
Oh, yes.
They've changed a lot.
Yeah, we have a lot of turkeys now, but we have a lot of hunters now, and maybe the population is down a little bit, and we need to make sure that the young hunters have a place to hunt.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how you learned how to call. You said you cackled at it and it turned to come to you, but how did you learn how to call these guys?
Fortunately, I was raised with domestic turkeys.
Okay.
And we had a few in the mountains there. And one turkey hen came to our place one time, but she disappeared a few days later. And our gobbler didn't go with her. He had domestic turkeys to stay. So that's, I guess, the first turkey I ever saw around there was at our house there, which is between Hampton and Rome Mountain.
So I guess you heard them every day and kind of learned it that way.
Well, I learned a little bit about turkeys, yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of calls did you use as far as slates or box or diaphragm?
I started out with a box call, and then later I went to diaphragm and made my own diaphragms. And now I use a locator, and then I put the locator box up and go to the diaphragm. And all you have to move then is your jaw.
Do you still use diaphragm call?
Yeah, I use a diaphragm.
You still make your own?
No, I don't. I lost the knack of it, I guess. But it was something to make my own call and call a turkey with that call to kill it, and I did that. That's satisfying.
That's pretty cool. That's really neat. So how many turkeys have you killed throughout your life? You got a number?
I've killed 126.
And, that's what happened to the turkeys in Tennessee. Arden Hill got after them.
Let's see, I've only crippled 2 that got away. And I shot the feathers out of one with a bow, but I cut the feather, and there wasn't any blood on it, so I didn't injure it. But I let 2 get away because they sailed off the mountain into the area. It might have been the same mountain, I believe it was. In the area where I couldn't go, follow him up and look for him.
Probably could have got that one too if you could have got in the area to get him out there.
I'd have been able to find him, yeah. But that bothered me to let those
Absolutely.
2 get away.
That's cool. That's some great stories. I'm sure you got plenty more, but Mr. Larry, I've got a note here that says you're y'all, or I guess both of you were part of the instrumental in starting the North Cherokee chapter of NWTF.
This is the man right here.
This is the man, okay.
And he called me one night and says, let's go to a meeting. We went to Sulphur Springs, which is just about a stone's throw across the ridge here. And we had our meetings down here, but we started the North Cherokee chapter, and it's been, we've seen a lot of good things happen. And the good thing about the Turkey Federation is the money that we raise, out of the net dollars, 52 cents of that net dollar comes right back to Tennessee, and it's dispersed all over the state. And, you know, a lot of these organizations, money goes to the national, and they do it like the ducks, but around, you know, each chapter gets opportunity to put in for something for children. We just want to put it on the ground to help it only helps all wildlife things that we do, but it's a good strong chapter yet.
Yeah, and then you also are a calling judge for the
I judge in
convention?
the Grand Nationals. They ask me to, and to they want somebody. Some of these young men. Of course, everybody's young to being a judge now, and so. But anyway, I judge in the contest. They want somebody that knows what the turkey sounds like. Mm-hmm. And you know, a lot of them want to add today. I told them in this last contest we had here at Cabela's 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I said, was talking with the judges, and I said, now if they ask for the yelping of an excited hen, a lot of callers now want to create a scenario rather than giving the yelping of an excited hen. I said they want to put half cuts and half yelps. Well, at that stage they should know the required call. You know, if they can read and write and they're good, but they embellish it sometimes too much. But I said if it sounds just like a turkey might sound, that's a good score. But if it doesn't have that, it's not so good a score.
Let's talk about that convention for a second. You were at the National Wild Turkey Federation convention again this year, weren't you?
Yes.
And they always ask the World War II veterans to stand up and be recognized. How many of you are left?
There's 3 stood. They're right, 3 stood this year. And 3's been standing about 2 or 3 years in a row.
Yeah. One of them was a past president of the National Wild Turkey Federation, Gene Denton. The other guy's it was a Navy vet, but Judge and Gene are both Army vets.
Army veteran. Can you talk a minute about your experiences?
He was Army Air Force. I'm
Army Air
sorry.
Force in
I
the
was
war.
Air Force when it was part of the Army.
Wow.
And I was in the Army Ordnance for a short time. Worked on howitzers and guns of all kinds. And
Is there any experiences you'd like to share?
well, I could talk all day about it. It was some experience. I didn't see the roughest part like some people did, but I had a few close calls, and didn't realize it. Soon after I guess it was one of the first planes to land at the Bourget Aerodrome, and they were still filling in shell holes. Some Frenchmen were filling it in, and we landed, and we stayed in an old bombed-out building, and until we found places to put our headquarters and set up to fly whatever's necessary to the front, such as blood or ammunition, and fly the wounded back to England. And that was some experience. I saw some pitiful cases. And they take from us whatever they needed at the front. If they needed food, we give them all of our food. We'd eat K rations. And if they needed blood, they'd get you out of bed and you give blood. And they'd say, in a truck, just wait, we'll give you blood in about an hour. You can take it back with you. So, and they'd get you out too often, which is not healthy if you didn't tell them about it. But they sent whatever that was needed to the front, and then we get ours a few hours later instead of having them to wait a few hours.
Yeah. I'm sure you've seen a lot and could tell us stories all day long, and we really do appreciate your service.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't take $1 million for it, but I wouldn't go through it again for me.
I hear that.
And a judge as well. Tell us a little bit about your time as a judge.
Well, I was a sessions judge in Carter County for 8 years, and then I was criminal court judge for 4 counties for 3 terms, so a total of 32 years and 3 weeks. I was judge and still a judge in certain powers. I marry people and swear people into office, and maybe another thing or two. I can't think of them right now.
Yeah.
Maybe carry a gun.
Speaking of carrying, what you got with you here today?
Oh, my wife found that for me someplace. It's one of my favorite canes. It's got a turkey on the top.
That's beautiful.
It is.
That's cool.
That's a nice one.
Earlier you were talking about how a gobbler sounds, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but could you show us or tell us, demonstrate what a turkey should sound like?
What he's getting ready. If a turkey can be called, this man can do it.
He can do it.
That's a gobbler.
You convinced me.
You didn't hear him.
That's awesome. Sounds
When I was
outstanding.
talking the other day about hunting, I said I quit deer hunting and elk hunting and everything when I found out I could cold call gobblers in the summer, winter, and fall. And this old man from Texarkana, he wrote a book and I read it, and it was not maybe in the early 90s. He liked wing bones. He told me there was a call you could use. He fall hunted a lot, and there was a call. He says it sounds to me like bonk, and so he said he used wing bone. So I called. He was helpful. He said a lot of people won't help people anymore, but I'm only going to take it to my grave. So he told me about this vocalization, and I finally, long story short, I mastered it on a wing bone. I kept cutting the wing bone, third bone, till I got that sound. And so in the mountains here on Walnut Mountain, one day I was driving through on a Wednesday, and I saw two big gobblers going up over the hill, and I said, I'll see you boys Friday morning, because I had to work the next day. And I went up there, first light, I took everything I had that could sound like a gobbler, and I went up there and I had me one of these new little, everything was film cameras in. And so this was in the 90s. And you push the button and it'll go like this. It'd come out, and you could take a picture. So I was going to call them and take their picture. So I did everything that I could think of at first light, nothing. I was on top of this hill and there was a ridge went off. There's 4 ridges went off and they came together up here. I took that, I did all these other things, and I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I'm going to try that call and see how it works. And I did that call, and down the bottom of this ridge, bonk, comes right back. And I thought, I'm not believing this. And I got my camera up, and then in just a little while, up that ridge, 3 gobbler yelps. And I thought, oh, I'm getting cold chills now. I had that camera, and I had it turned on. And all of a sudden, right there was a big red head straight up looking at me. And I looked, and the camera had shut up. I found out later it does that after you've had it on for 10 minutes to save the battery. And I pushed the button, and this one flew off. Well, I didn't. The other one had got on past me. And he came back, and he saw me in the eye, and he took off, and I took his picture, and that's one of my prized pictures. I've got it, and I just wrote a book recently on turkey hunting, and that's one of the pictures I've got on it, and some of him. But I captured that particular turkey, and but I fall hunt. I hunt in the spring, 10 states in the spring, and about 8 in the fall, but I don't hunt as many in the fall because the bag limits have gone down a lot.
Right.
Where's some of the best turkey hunting in the country, in your opinion?
Well, I hunt slams. It's the Osceola in southern Florida, the easterns that we have in Tennessee and most of the other places. The Merriam's, which is a white on his tail feathers and on his rump. And he lives in the mountains in Nebraska and New Mexico. We hunted New Mexico, too, in the mountains high. It's like 13,000.
Wow.
But then there's the Rio Grande, Texas and Oklahoma. So if you kill one of each of those, that's a grand slam. If you add in the Mexico, there's another subspecies in Mexico, in the Sierra Madres. He's bigger bone structure. And you wouldn't think it, but you look at them and you think, man, those are monsters. And but I had all 5 subspecies, and I did the opening of the Bass Pro in Knoxville, and I had all these. They had me mic'd up like this, and talking, making turkey sounds and talking to the people. As it ended up, but the second day, the only thing I was doing was letting children, they'd come and see that big Gould's turkey, and he's so big, and they'd want their picture taken with them. And there were so many people, all you could do was tell them which way out and which way to the bathroom.
Well, can you tell us about that call you got hanging around your neck there? Did I hear you say something about that's a bone?
That's a bone, but this is interesting.
Yeah, that's the one I noticed.
That's the radius bone out of a hen turkey.
Okay.
Now, I was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I walked into this antique store, and a man came to me. My wife was looking for antique dolls, and I said, you don't have any turkey calls, do you? He says, well, I do. I could bring one tomorrow, but you might not be interested. I collect possibles bags. And he showed me a picture of one that he had got, like from the 1800s, and it was so old it was crumbly. He said there was a bone, a turkey bone, in that possibles bag. And I saw one another man had. It had a string around it, and it was hanging down. And I asked him, what did he do with the string? He said, I throwed it away. I said, oh, that would have been precious. But they call that at that time, they were calling with the wing bone. So
Wow.
But, that's primitive, but it'll work.
So are you blowing through that? Is that how that
No,
works?
I'm making little sips like.
Okay. Gotcha.
Now, the next thing they did in the 20s and 30s, they put the bone in a trumpet. So that makes the song. It amplifies the sound.
Okay. Awesome.
And it's just one of many calls. There's all kind of calls, but if you master several different kinds, if the gobbler doesn't like this particular call today, that doesn't hurt my feelings. I've got something else.
Got a box
another
full.
girl to give him.
There you go. There you go.
But before we go, tell us about this bonk you were talking about earlier. You got me interested.
It is a gobbler variation of a gobbler cluck. An old man, Leon Johanning from Lexington, Virginia, wrote a book and edited. It was published in 1966. It had 4 or 5 printings. It's really a booklet. And it's small writing, but now it's one of the most precious things. He says, there's another vocalization that the gobblers do that I would describe it as half cluck and half yelp. And I would say that it would identify it. I don't have my bonk with me, my bone with me today, but I have a bone that Gene Denton gave me that Wingbone Crier made. And it's a 2-piece bone, and it makes a perfect, and Wingbone would say it, he said, I defy you and challenge you to make that vocalization better than you can make on a Wingbone. So,
Wow.
It's worked for me.
All right. Well, we could tell stories all day, and we appreciate these guys for being with us, and we're going to have to wrap it up. So we'll see you next time on Tennessee WildCast.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.